Vex Mortalis had killed a lot of people. Like, a lot. 847 beings across 200 worlds to be exact. He kept a spreadsheet. He was very organized about his murders, which honestly was probably why he was so good at them. He stood in Queen Valara's throne room, all 7 feet of midnight black armor and weaponized intimidation, waiting for his next contract. The queen lounged on her ridiculous crystal throne, the kind that screamed, "I have too much money and questionable taste," and regarded him with the cold satisfaction of someone about to ruin someone else's day. "Vex Mortalis," she purred, her voice dripping with the kind of disdain reserved for people who find hair in their soup. "I have a special assignment for you." Special. Right. They were all special. Last week's special assignment involved a warlord with 16 bodyguards and a personal shield generator. Vex had him dead in 47 seconds. New personal record. "There is a human," Queen Valara continued, practically spitting the word human like it tasted bad, "who has claimed a planet that belongs to me. The planet contains rare minerals worth approximately 400 billion credits." Vex didn't blink. He never blinked during briefings. It was unprofessional. "This human," the Queen said with a sneer that could curdle milk, "is named Captain Riley Knox. She is alone on a small exploration vessel, completely undefended and from all accounts, spectacularly incompetent. This should be your easiest payday yet. I want her eliminated within the week." "Understood, Your Majesty." "The payment is 5 million credits. Half now, half on confirmation of death." Queen Valara waved a hand dismissively, already bored with the conversation. "Humans are primitive creatures, Vex. Weak, emotional, prone to sentimentality. You will have no trouble with this one." Vex bowed, the movement precise and calculated, and left the throne room. His ship, a sleek predator of a vessel called the Shadow's Edge, waited in the royal hangar. As he boarded, his ship's AI flickered to life. "New contract, boss?" Nora's voice was dry, sardonic, and exactly the kind of personality you'd program into an AI if you spent too much time alone in space. "Human target, solo explorer, undefended." "Oh good, we're bullying someone's grandma now, how prestigious." "She stole a planet, Nora." "And you've stolen 847 lives, but who's counting?" Nora paused. "Oh wait, I am. I literally count them. It's my job." Vex ignored her, running through his weapons check with practiced efficiency. Plasma rifle, check. Molecular blade, check. Poison darts, check. Portable disintegration field, check. The usual arsenal for making someone stop existing. He'd already spent the 5 million credits in his head. Maybe a new ship. Something with better cup holders. The Shadow's Edge had terrible cup holders. "Coordinates locked for Captain Riley Knox's last known position," Nora announced. "Estimated arrival time 6 hours. Try not to fall asleep from the sheer excitement of murdering an unarmed human. Your sarcasm module needs recalibration." "My sarcasm module is functioning perfectly, thanks. It's your moral compass that's on the fritz." Vex settled into the pilot's chair, watching the stars blur into hyperspace streams outside his viewport. 847 down. One more wouldn't make a difference, just another job, just another target. He had no idea that in 6 hours his entire life was about to become a cosmic joke. Riley Knox's ship, the Wandering Mistake, a name she'd chosen herself and refused to change despite multiple people pointing out the bad omen, drifted lazily through uncharted space. Vex's scanners picked it up easily. No shields, minimal weapons, navigation systems that appeared to be held together with hope and electrical tape. This was going to be embarrassingly easy. He docked silently, his infiltration skills honed by 2 centuries of practice. The airlock opened with barely a whisper. He moved through the corridors like smoke, thermal vision active, tracking the single heat signature in what appeared to be the ship's common area. Vex rounded the corner, plasma rifle raised, ready to strike fast and clean. "Oh hey, there's a person on my ship." He froze. Riley Knox sat cross-legged on a beaten-up couch that had no business being on a spaceship, wearing a faded band t-shirt with something called The Beatles on it, and the fluffiest socks Vex had ever seen. She was eating cereal, the dry kind, straight from the box while watching a screen that displayed what appeared to be humans laughing at each other in a living room. She looked directly at him, smiled. "Are you lost? Space is super confusing, I get it. I've been lost for like 3 weeks now. Want some cereal?" She held out the box. "It's artificially flavored to taste like fruit, but honestly it just tastes like colored cardboard. But it's kind of good, in a weird way." Vex stared. His targeting system flickered. This was not protocol. "I am Vex Mortalis," he said, using his intimidation voice, the one that made warlords wet themselves. "I am here to kill you." "Oh, cool, cool." Riley nodded, still chewing cereal. "That's a really intense name, very dramatic. I'm Riley. This is my ship. It's kind of a mess, sorry about that. Do you want to sit down? This show is hilarious, you'd love it. It's about humans who don't communicate their feelings and it causes problems." Vex raised his rifle. "You do not understand. I am an assassin, the most feared killer in the galaxy." "Right, yeah, the all-black outfit kind of gives off that vibe." Riley gestured at the couch. "Seriously, though, you look tense. Sit. Watch TV. Live a little." He pulled the trigger. Nothing happened. Vex looked at his rifle. The power cell display showed full charge, but the weapon was completely dead. He switched to his molecular blade. The blade flickered once and died. His poison darts wouldn't eject. His portable disintegration field made a sad beeping noise and shut down. "Oh man, yeah, technology hates me," Riley said cheerfully. "It's like a whole thing. My toaster tried to kill me last week. Well, not kill me, but it definitely burned my bagel on purpose. Machines just get weird around me." "That is not possible," Vex growled, checking his equipment frantically. Everything was malfunctioning. All of it. "I've got a theory that I emit some kind of anti-tech aura, but honestly, I barely passed space physics, so I'm probably wrong." Riley stood up, walked over to him, and Vex instinctively took a step back. She was maybe 5'6", weighed approximately nothing, and had cereal crumbs on her shirt. "You look really stressed. Are you okay? Do you need water?" "I have water. Well, it's space water, which tastes kind of metallic, but it's wet." "Stop talking," Vex commanded, but his voice came out weaker than intended. "I talk when I'm nervous, which is always. So basically, I never stop talking. My ex-boyfriend said it was my least attractive quality, but joke's on him because he married his therapist, so clearly he had some communication issues to work through anyway." Riley tilted her head. "Why do you want to kill me? Did I cut you off in traffic? Space traffic? I'm a terrible pilot, so that's possible." Vex tried to grab her. She moved to hand him the water bottle at the exact same moment, and they collided. He tripped over her fuzzy socks, stumbled backward into her couch, which collapsed under his armored weight, sending him crashing to the floor where he knocked over her cereal box, which exploded into a shower of artificial fruit-flavored pieces that rained down on his helmet. Riley stood over him, looking concerned. "Are you having a bad day? You seem like you're having a bad day." "Nora!" Vex hissed into his comm. "Emergency extraction. Now." "Boss, I'm looking at your vital signs and they're all over the place. Are you having a panic attack?" "Extraction. Also, your location shows you're covered in breakfast cereal. Do you want to explain that, or I will dismantle you into component parts?" Riley sat down next to him on the collapsed couch, offering him the water bottle. "It's okay to have feelings, you know. Society tells us to be tough all the time, but vulnerability is actually really brave." Vex Mortalis, the galaxy's most feared assassin, undefeated in 200 years, lay in a pile of cereal and broken furniture, staring at the ceiling of a human ship, and wondered if this was what having a mental breakdown felt like. "I have a spare bedroom if you need to stay the night," Riley added. "Fair warning, the door sticks and sometimes the lights flicker and I think there's a weird smell but I can't find the source. But there's blankets." He was going to need a new plan. Part 3. The accidental hostage situation. Vex did not stay in the spare bedroom. He instead spent 3 hours in his own ship, attempting to repair his weapons, all of which stubbornly refused to function. Nora was no help whatsoever. "Perhaps the universe is telling you something, boss." "The universe does not talk, Nora." "And yet here you are, having a full conversation with an AI. Really makes you think." He returned to the wandering mistake the next morning, this time unarmed, which felt like showing up to a fight naked. Riley was in what passed for a cockpit, staring at a navigation screen that displayed something that definitely was not a real star chart. "Oh good, you're back." Riley spun in her chair. "I thought maybe you left, which would be sad because I don't get a lot of visitors. Well, any visitors. You're actually my first visitor. Want breakfast? I'm trying to make space pancakes, but they keep floating away." "Where are we going?" Vex asked, deciding to try a different approach. "Information. Get information, find a weakness, complete the mission." "Oh man, great question. I was trying to get to station Kepler 442, but my navigation system keeps recalculating, and now I think we're headed toward the Andromeda border. Space is really big, turns out. Like, really, really big." Vex pulled up her navigation system and immediately regretted it. She had somehow programmed coordinates in 3 different measurement systems, none of them correctly. They were currently on course to fly directly into a dead star in approximately 4 days. "You are going to die," he said flatly. "I mean, eventually, yeah. We're all dying, really. Every day we're 1 day closer to death. But I try not to think about it because it's depressing and I already have enough anxiety about whether I left my oven on back on Earth. Even though I definitely didn't because I haven't used my oven in like 2 years. No, I mean immediately. In 4 days. Dead star." "Oh." Riley looked at the screen. "Huh, that's not great." Vex spent the next hour fixing her navigation system, cursing in 17 different languages, while Riley sat nearby eating her floating pancakes and narrating her entire life story. He learned about her failed relationships, all 3 of them, her love of Earth music, specifically something called classic rock, her theory that space whales were real and the government was hiding them, her terrible cooking experiments, which included trying to make spaghetti in 0 gravity, which went exactly as badly as you'd think. "So why did you claim that planet?" Vex asked, trying to steer the conversation toward something useful. "Oh that? Total accident. I thought I was filling out a form for a library card on Station Helios. Turns out I accidentally filed a planetary claim with the Galactic Council. I didn't even know what I'd done until they sent me a congratulations message and a property tax bill. The tax bill is wild, by the way. Like, who do I even pay? Is there a space IRS? These are questions no one answers. You claimed a planet worth 400 billion credits by accident. Is it worth that much? Wow, okay, maybe I should pay that tax bill." Vex stared at her. She was genuinely, sincerely, completely clueless. She hadn't stolen anything. She was just catastrophically bad at paperwork. "Queen Valara wants that planet," he said carefully. "She sent me to kill you for it." "Oh, she can have it. I don't want a planet. I can barely take care of a houseplant. Here, I'll sign whatever. Do you have a space pen?" "It does not work that way." "Why not?" "Bureaucracy is so complicated. This is why I became an explorer. You just point your ship at stuff and go look at it. Very simple. Well, except for the navigation part, which is not simple as we've established." Over the next 2 days, Vex tried repeatedly to complete his mission. He tried to sabotage her life support. Riley accidentally fixed it while trying to adjust the temperature. He tried to poison her food. She decided to fast that day because she read an article about intermittent fasting. He tried to space her during a routine airlock check. She had tied a safety tether to his armor. "Because we're friends now, and I don't want you floating away." Friends. Friends. He was friends with his target. Riley showed him Earth movies, terrible ones with plots that made no sense. But she laughed at all the jokes and explained the cultural context, and somehow made them enjoyable. She introduced him to comfort food, which was apparently food that made you happy, but also feel guilty. She talked about Self-Care Sunday, which was a day humans dedicated to doing nothing and feeling only slightly bad about it. "You know what your problem is?" Riley said on day 3, while they watched something called a romantic comedy. "You're lonely." Vex went very still. "I am an assassin. I work alone." "Yeah, but like, by choice or because everyone's scared of you?" "Both, actually. But he didn't say that." "I get lonely too," Riley continued, pulling her knees to her chest. Space is beautiful, but it's really empty, you know? Sometimes I go weeks without talking to anyone. That's why I talk so much when I meet people. I'm making up for lost time. Something in Vex's chest felt tight. He had not had a genuine conversation with anyone in decades. Centuries, maybe. His contracts came through secure channels. His payments were automated. Nora was an AI. Riley was the first person in 200 years who had talked to him like he was a person, not a weapon. "Your ship is terrible," he said, his voice rough. "I know, right? I love her, though. She's trying her best." "You are going to die out here." "Probably, yeah." "You are not afraid." Riley shrugged. "Being afraid doesn't really help anything. Besides, if I die, at least I got to see some cool stuff first. I mapped the Carthage Nebula last month. I found a dead civilization on Kepler 186f. I met you. Not a bad run, all things considered." Vex had killed 847 people. He had never known any of their names. He had never wondered if they laughed at bad movies or talked too much when they were nervous or tied safety tethers to strangers because they cared. "I cannot complete this contract," he said quietly. "The assassination one?" "Yeah, I figured when you started crying during the romantic comedy climax." "I did not cry. Your helmet was fogging up, dude. That was condensation." Sure, condensation. From your eyes. Which is tears." Riley patted his armored shoulder. "It's okay. Emotional growth is hard. I'm proud of you." Nora's voice crackled through his helmet comm, quiet enough that only he could hear. "Boss, I've been monitoring your vitals. Your oxytocin levels are through the roof. I think you're experiencing human-induced emotional compromise." "What does that mean?" "It means you're developing feelings, you absolute disaster. You're falling for the target." Vex stood abruptly. "I need to think." "Take your time," Riley called after him. "I'll be here, probably breaking something." In his ship, Vex paced. 200 years of perfect kills. A flawless record. And now this. A human with fuzzy socks and chaos energy had completely dismantled everything he was. He pulled up the contract file. Queen Valara's cold face stared back at him. 5 million credits. Riley's life. He thought about Riley explaining Earth music with wild hand gestures. Riley laughing at terrible jokes. Riley offering him cereal in the middle of an assassination attempt. Riley, who had somehow become the most important person in his life in 72 hours. "Nora," he said slowly. "What are the penalties for breaking a contract?" "For you? Death, probably. Queen Valara doesn't do well with disappointment. She once executed a chef for oversalting her soup." "And if I did not break the contract but instead provided an alternative solution?" "I'm listening." Vex pulled up his personal files, scrolled through 2 centuries of data, stopped on a file he had not opened in a very long time. His own citizenship records, his legal status. A plan, absolutely insane and completely unprecedented, began to form. "Nora, set course for the Crimson Throne. We're going back to Queen Valara? Are you going to complete the contract?" "No," Vex said, and despite everything felt himself smile behind his helmet. "I am going to do something far more dangerous. I'm going to quit." The thing was, Vex had tried. He'd really genuinely tried to kill Riley Knox. On day 4, he'd attempted to vent the atmosphere while she slept. Riley had woken up, noticed the air getting thin, and cheerfully announced, "Oh good, you're testing the emergency systems. I've been meaning to do that, but I keep forgetting." Then she fixed the leak he'd created with duct tape and optimism. Duct tape and optimism. He'd tried to convince himself it was strategy. He was learning her patterns, finding weaknesses, planning the perfect strike. But the truth was more pathetic. Every time he got close to actually hurting her, his hands wouldn't cooperate. His finger wouldn't pull the trigger, his blade wouldn't swing. 200 years of killing, undone by a human who ate cereal for dinner and cried at commercials. "I think I'm broken," he told Nora on the 5th day. "Oh, you're definitely broken. The question is whether we're talking emotionally or mechanically. Because if it's mechanical, I can run diagnostics. If it's emotional, you're on your own. I'm an AI, not a therapist. Both. Neither. I do not know. He found Riley in the cargo bay, which she'd converted into what she called a multi-purpose wellness space, which appeared to be yoga mats and string lights she'd stolen from somewhere. She was attempting to meditate, which mostly involved her sitting cross-legged and fidgeting every 30 seconds. "Can't focus," she announced, opening one eye. "My brain is too loud. It's like having 15 browser tabs open at once and all of them are playing different music. How's your existential crisis going?" "How did you know I was having an existential crisis?" "Vex, buddy, you've been staring at your weapons for 2 hours like they killed your dog, which would be ironic since you're the one who kills things." "Killed things? Are we using past tense now? I feel like we should use past tense." He sat down across from her. His armor made an undignified creaking sound. "I do not understand what is happening to me." "Feelings, probably. They're the worst. Well, not the worst. Kidney stones are probably worse. I've never had kidney stones, but I've heard they're bad." Riley abandoned her meditation pose and leaned forward. "Talk to me. What's going on in that murder head of yours?" "I have killed 847 beings." "Okay, that's a lot. That's like a small town's worth of beings. A village, at least. I have never felt guilt, remorse, hesitation. I received a contract. I completed it. I moved on. Sounds lonely. It was efficient. Efficiency is just loneliness with a schedule, dude." Vex pulled off his helmet. Riley had seen his face before, on day 3 when his environmental controls had malfunctioned. Another victim of her chaos field. He was pale, angular, with eyes that had seen too much and a scar across his jaw from a contract gone wrong a century ago. Riley didn't flinch. She never flinched. "I cannot kill you," he said simply. "I have tried. Multiple times. I physically cannot do it. I know you're not very subtle. The atmosphere venting thing was pretty obvious." "You knew?" "Vex, I'm chaotic, not stupid. I've been waiting for you to have this breakthrough. Character development takes time. I've been very patient." He laughed. Actually laughed. It sounded rusty, like a machine that hadn't been used in decades. "You are the strangest person I have ever met." "Thank you, I try really hard." Riley grinned. "So what now? You gonna go back to Queen Valara and tell her you failed? Because I feel like she's going to take that badly. She seems like the type who doesn't handle disappointment well. She will send other assassins." "Okay, that's concerning. Or I could protect you." Riley blinked. "Like a bodyguard situation?" "That's kind of romantic in a weird murdery way." "I do not know what I am feeling," Vex admitted, and the words felt like pulling shrapnel from a wound. "But when I think about you dying, I experience what I can only describe as extreme discomfort." "That's fear, babe. You're feeling fear. Welcome to being human. Well, not human, but you know what I mean. And when you laugh at those terrible movies, I experience warmth. Pleasant warmth. That's happiness. And when you talk about being lonely in space, I want to ensure you are never lonely again." Riley went very quiet. "Vex, that's love. Or at least the starting stages of it. Which is wild because we've known each other for like 5 days. But honestly, I've had longer relationships that meant less. So who's counting?" "Love." The word sat between them like a live grenade. "I do not know how to do this," Vex said. "I know how to kill. I know how to disappear. I know how to survive. I do not know how to care about someone. Good news, it's super easy. You just keep showing up and trying not to be a jerk. That's literally it. The bar is very low." Riley reached out and took his hand. His hand, which had killed 847 people, now being held by someone who trusted him completely. "You want to know a secret?" "Yes." "I'm terrified like all the time. Space is huge and scary and I'm just one person in a broken ship with no idea what I'm doing. But today, right now, with you here, I'm less scared. You make me feel safe, which is objectively hilarious given the whole assassin thing, but feelings don't have to make sense." A meteor shower chose that exact moment to hit the ship. Because of course it did. Alarms blared. The ship lurched. Riley's terrible piloting skills had led them directly into a debris field, because the universe had a sense of humor. "Okay, not great," Riley yelled, running for the cockpit. "This is fine. Everything's fine." Nothing was fine. Vex's tactical display showed approximately 200 meteors. The ship's shields were failing and their trajectory was taking them deeper into the field. Riley was yanking on controls with no apparent strategy, just pure chaotic energy. "Left!" Vex shouted. "Bank left. My left or your left? There is only one left." "That's not true. There's also stage left, which is the opposite of—" A meteor the size of a small car was heading directly for them. Vex grabbed the controls. Riley grabbed different controls and somehow, through a combination of skill and cosmic luck, they pulled off a maneuver that shouldn't have been possible. The ship spun, dove, weaved through the debris field like it was dancing and emerged on the other side intact. They sat in silence for a moment, both breathing hard. "That was fun," Riley said. "Terrifying, but fun. You saved us." "We saved us. Team effort, partnership. This is what healthy relationships look like, probably." Vex looked at her. Really looked at her. Hair a mess, shirt still covered in cereal crumbs from days ago, grinning like she hadn't almost died. Eyes bright with adrenaline and life and chaos. "I need to tell you something," he said. "If it's that you love me, I already know. You told me with your eyes during the meteor thing, very romantic. Riley Knox, I was sent to kill you. I have failed. Spectacularly. Completely. I have instead developed feelings that I do not fully understand but cannot ignore. And I want to protect you. To stay with you. To watch terrible movies and eat cereal and listen to you talk about space whales. This is unprecedented and illogical and entirely your fault." "That's the sweetest thing anyone's ever said to me and also the weirdest, which is very on brand for us." Riley leaned over and kissed his cheek. "I like you too, Vex Mortalis. Even though you tried to kill me multiple times, maybe because you tried to kill me multiple times, I should probably examine that in therapy." "I have a plan," Vex said. "It is dangerous and stupid and likely to get us both killed. Those are my favorite kinds of plans. We are going back to Queen Valera, together, and I am going to quit." Riley's eyes went wide. "Oh, that's going to go badly. She's going to be so mad." "I love it. Let's do it. But first, can we stop somewhere and get you a nice outfit? You can't quit in murder armor. You need a quitting outfit, something that says, 'I'm unemployed and emotionally available.'" Nora's voice crackled through the speakers. "I've run probability scenarios on this plan. 97% chance of death. 2% chance of imprisonment. 1% chance of success." "I like those odds," Riley said cheerfully. "Those are terrible odds." "Yeah, but we survived the meteor thing, which had like 0% odds. We're on a roll. Let's go break up with your evil queen boss and see what happens. What's the worst that could happen?" "Death," Vex and Nora said simultaneously. Besides that, the Crimson Throne's palace was exactly as Vex remembered it. Oppressive, dramatic, and decorated with the kind of wealth that screamed, "I have too much money," and severe insecurity issues. He walked through the corridors with Riley at his side, feeling approximately 847 pairs of eyes watching them. Riley, wearing what she called her diplomatic outfit, which was a slightly less wrinkled t-shirt and pants without stains, looked around with genuine wonder. "This place is so red, like aggressively red. Did she get a bulk discount on red things? Is this feng shui or just a cry for help?" "Riley, please be quiet." Right, serious moment, I'm being quiet. This is me being quiet." 3 seconds passed. "It's just so red, though." The throne room doors opened. Queen Valara sat on her crystal throne, surrounded by her court of sycophants and terrified advisors. Her face went through several expressions when she saw them. Confusion, recognition, rage, and finally settling on the kind of fury that usually preceded executions. "Vex Mortalis," she said, her voice cold enough to freeze stars. "You dare return without completing your contract?" "Your Majesty," Vex said, and dropped to one knee. "Not in submission." He reached into his armor and pulled out a small box. Inside was a ring, simple and elegant, that he'd purchased at a space station 3 days ago using his emergency funds. The entire court gasped. Riley made a noise that was somewhere between a squeak and a laugh. "I am here to tender my resignation," Vex continued. "Effective immediately. I am retiring from assassination to pursue personal interests." Queen Valara's face turned a color that matched her decor. "Personal interests? You brought me your target as your personal interest?" "Hi." Riley waved from behind Vex. "I'm Riley. I'm the personal interest. This is awkward, right? This feels awkward. We should have called ahead. You were supposed to kill her." The Queen's voice could have shattered glass. Probably did shatter some glass. The windows made concerning noises. "Yes, well, change of plans," Vex said calmly. "Turns out she is significantly more valuable alive. To me specifically. As a companion, partner, significant other. I do not care about your relationship status." Queen Valara stood, power crackling around her like a bad special effect. "You have broken your contract, Vex Mortalis. The penalty is death. You know this." "I am aware." "Then why are you here?" "Because," Riley stepped forward and Vex tried to stop her, but she was already moving. "I think we should talk about the illegal mining operations you've got running in protected zones." The room went very quiet. Queen Valara's expression shifted from rage to something more dangerous. "Calculation. I have no idea what you're talking about." "Oh, I think you do." Riley pulled out a data pad, the same one she'd been using to take what she called space vacation photos. "See, while I was mapping the outer sectors, I accidentally documented like 17 different illegal mining sites, all registered to shell companies, all traced back to the Crimson Throne. I didn't know what I was looking at initially. I thought they were rock formations. But then Vex explained it to me and I was like, oh wow, that's super illegal. You have no proof. Actually, I uploaded everything to the Galactic Council's public servers last week. I thought I was backing up my photos to cloud storage, but I guess I clicked the wrong thing. Anyway, they have everything. Mining coordinates, financial records, shipping manifests. I'm really bad at technology, but apparently I'm great at accidental whistleblowing." The Queen looked like she wanted to explode several planets. "You did. What? Look, in my defense, your website UI is really confusing. You should hire a better designer, something with less red maybe." Vex stood, placing himself between Riley and the Queen. "The Council is already investigating. By now I suspect arrest warrants have been issued. You have larger problems than one retired assassin, Your Majesty. I will have you both executed. I will destroy you. I will—" The throne room doors burst open. Galactic Council guards poured in, weapons drawn. Leading them was Commander Thrace, a no-nonsense Rigelian who had been waiting for an excuse to arrest Queen Valara for approximately 30 years. "Queen Valara of the Crimson Throne," Commander Thrace announced, clearly enjoying herself. "You are under arrest for illegal mining in protected zones, environmental terrorism, bribery of council officials, and approximately 47 other charges. You have the right to remain silent, which I personally recommend because every time you talk, you incriminate yourself further." Chaos erupted. The Queen's guards didn't know whether to defend her or run. Most chose running. Smart choice. The court scattered like insects when you turn on a light. Queen Valara screamed threats that would have been more effective if she wasn't being put in energy restraints. Through it all, Riley stood next to Vex watching the show. "This is so much better than the movies. Should we be running?" "No," Vex said. "We are not the criminals here, technically." Commander Thrace approached them. "Captain Knox, I presume? Your documentation was instrumental in this arrest. The Council thanks you for your service, accidentally or not." "Oh cool, I helped. Does this mean I don't have to pay that planet tax bill because it's really expensive?" "We will discuss your planetary claim later. As for you," she turned to Vex, "Vex Mortalis. Your record is extensive and disturbing. However, you have committed no crimes against the Council, and your contract was issued by a now-arrested war criminal. You are free to go. Try not to kill anyone on your way out." "I am retired," Vex said. "Sure you are. They all say that. Commander Thrace looked between them. You two are either the bravest or stupidest beings I have ever met. Possibly both. Now get out before I change my mind. As they left the throne room, passing Queen Valara, who was still screaming about revenge and lawyers, Riley turned to Vex. So that went better than expected. We nearly died. Yeah, but we didn't. That's the important part. Glass half full, you know? As they reached the hangar, Vex's former colleagues began appearing from various shadows. Assassins, mercenaries, contract killers of every species and specialization. For a moment, Vex tensed, preparing for a fight. Then Kira Shadowstep, a Xinthian assassin he'd worked alongside decades ago, stepped forward. Mortalis, heard you quit. I did. Good for you, man. She looked at Riley. This the human? Yep, that's me. I'm the reason he's unemployed, sorry about that. Kira laughed, a sound like wind chimes made of knives. Do not apologize. Half of us want to quit. The other half are too scared. You know what Valara did to the last person who tried to resign? I can imagine. Now she is arrested. The syndicate is falling apart. We are finally free. Kira looked around at the gathered assassins. Some of us were thinking, if you and your human need protection or a place to settle, we could help. A collective of retired killers. Sounds nice, yes? Sounds like a sitcom, Riley said. I love it. Vex looked at the faces around him. Killers. All of them. People who had lived in shadows for too long. People who wanted something different. The planet Riley claimed. It is remote, defensible, and legally hers. Are we starting a commune? Riley asked excitedly. I've always wanted to be in a commune. Do we get matching t-shirts? A retirement community, Kira corrected, for those who want peace. Even better, Nora's voice came through Vex's comm. Boss, I'm detecting approximately 47 life signs in this hangar. All former assassins, all looking at you hopefully. I think you just became a community organizer. How embarrassing. Shut up, Nora. Never. It's literally my primary function at this point. As they boarded their ships forming an unlikely convoy, Riley grabbed Vex's arm. Hey, so, about that ring. Were you serious? Vex looked at her, at this human who had dismantled his entire existence with cereal and kindness. I have never been more serious about anything in my life. Okay, good. Because yes. Absolutely yes. Let's get space married. Do we need a space priest? Is that a thing? We should figure out if that's a thing. Can we survive the next few days first? Sure, practical. I like that about you. You balance out my chaos with your brooding. We're like opposites attract, but with more murder history. They jumped to hyperspace together, a fleet of retired killers following behind, headed for a planet claimed by accident and a future nobody could have predicted. 3 months later, the planet that Riley had accidentally claimed looked almost habitable. Almost. If you squinted and ignored the parts that were on fire. The greenhouse is supposed to be on fire, right? Riley asked, watching smoke pour from the structure. No, Vex said calmly, already walking toward it with a fire extinguisher. Kira was attempting to grow earth tomatoes again. They're very difficult. Kira's voice emerged from the smoke. The instructions said full sun. I gave them full sun. You used a plasma torch. It is technically the sun. This was life now. 47 retired assassins trying to live normally and failing spectacularly. The planet, which they'd named Haven because Riley said it sounded friendly, had become something between a retirement community and a chaotic experiment in whether professional killers could learn to be functional neighbors. Results were mixed. Vex had learned to cook. By learned, he meant could make 3 dishes without causing injuries. Riley had learned to not break technology. By learned, she meant broken fewer things this week than last week. Progress was progress. Their house, built by people who knew how to infiltrate structures but not build them, leaned slightly to the left and made concerning noises when it rained. Riley loved it. She had put up curtains with tiny spaceships on them and declared it cozy. Nora, now integrated into the planet's central computer system, had started a podcast called How to Disarm an Assassin with Serial, which had inexplicably become popular across 3 galaxies. She interviewed Riley weekly about her accidental journey from lost explorer to fiancé of the galaxy's most feared killer. "It's really simple," Riley said in the latest episode, which Vex refused to listen to. "You just treat them like people. Revolutionary concept, I know." The Galactic Council had officially recognized Haven as a sovereign territory under Riley's stewardship. They had also given her an award for accidentally promoting galactic peace through catastrophic incompetence, which Riley displayed proudly above the fireplace that didn't work. Queen Valara, from her prison cell, had sent a wedding gift. It was a very expensive vase with a note that said, "I hope you choke on happiness." Riley put flowers in it. "She's trying," Riley said. "Character growth is hard for everyone." The wedding was scheduled for next week. Planning had been a disaster. Kira insisted on traditional Xinthian death rituals which involved ceremonial combat. Riley wanted to play Earth music, specifically something called Dancing Queen. Vex wanted it to be over as quickly as possible. They had compromised. The ceremony would include 1 ritual combat, 3 Earth songs, and a buffet because Riley said, "Everyone is less likely to murder each other when they're eating." Currently, Vex was reviewing the guest list, which had grown from 20 to 200 beings. Apparently, the story of an assassin who quit for love had spread. People wanted to witness it. Some wanted to celebrate it. A few probably wanted to see if it was real or an elaborate trap. "We could elope," Vex suggested, not for the first time. "We could," Riley agreed, hanging upside down off the couch for reasons she hadn't explained. "But this is better. Community, you know? Connection. Also, I already ordered a cake shaped like a spaceship, and I'm not wasting that money." "The cake is shaped like a spaceship." "Your point. I love you, Riley Knox, but your decision-making process is baffling." "That's why you love me, though. I keep life interesting." She was right. Life was interesting. Vex, who had spent 200 years in shadows, now lived in a house that leaned on a planet full of reformed killers, engaged to a human who had accidentally started a revolution by being aggressively kind. The wedding day arrived with predictable chaos. The ritual combat got out of hand and they had to use stun weapons to separate the participants. The Earth music caused a diplomatic incident when the Rigelian delegation found it auditory assault. The cake was perfect until someone knocked it over during the dancing, but Riley laughed through all of it. She laughed when Vex's armor malfunctioned during his vows, when Nora's speakers blew out during the music, when it started raining inside the ceremony hall because they'd forgotten to finish the roof. "This is perfect," she said, covered in cake and rain and happiness. "It is a disaster." "Yeah, but it's our disaster." The ceremony was officiated by Commander Thrace, who showed up in full uniform and made it clear she was here, under protest, and because the open bar was too good to pass up. She pronounced them married with all the enthusiasm of someone reading a parking ticket, then immediately headed for the buffet. That night, after the guests had left or passed out, depending on their tolerance for Earth alcohol, Vex and Riley sat on the roof of their leaning house, watching 3 moons rise over their accidentally acquired planet. "You know what's funny?" Riley said, leaning against him. "What?" "A year ago I was lost in space, alone, eating cereal for every meal, with no idea what I was doing with my life. Now I'm still eating cereal for every meal, but I'm married to a reformed assassin on a planet full of retired killers who are trying to grow tomatoes. I'm not sure if this is improvement or just different chaos." "It is improvement," Vex said firmly. "You have me." "Yeah, I do. Lucky me. Lucky us." Riley paused. "Do you miss it? The assassin life?" Vex thought about it. 200 years of killing, of silence, of isolation, of being feared instead of known. "Not even slightly." "Good answer." Below them, Haven sprawled in organized chaos. Gardens that were mostly successful. Houses that mostly stood upright. People who were mostly reformed. A community built by accident. Held together by a human who had no idea what she was doing but did it with enthusiasm anyway. Humans, Vex had learned, were terrifying in ways the galaxy didn't understand. They didn't conquer with weapons or strategy. They conquered with persistence, with kindness that looked like weakness until you realized it was stronger than any armor, with chaotic energy that bent the universe around them until it gave up and let them win. Riley Knox had defeated the galaxy's most feared assassin with serial and sitcoms. She had dismantled a queen's empire with accidental evidence collection. She had built a community of killers into something resembling a family through sheer force of optimistic determination. Humans were disasters. Beautiful, impossible, wonderful disasters. And Vex Mortalis, formerly the most feared killer in the galaxy, currently a married man trying to figure out how to grow vegetables, wouldn't change a single thing. "Hey, Vex," Riley said sleepily. "Yes? Next week want to go explore that weird nebula near the border? I heard there might be space whales." "There are no space whales, Riley." "That's exactly what someone who hasn't seen space whales would say. We just got married. Can we have 1 week of stability? Where's the fun in that?" She had a point. Stability was overrated anyway. "Fine, but I am piloting." "Deal. Your navigation skills are way better than mine anyway. Remember that time I almost flew us into a black hole? I am trying to forget that time. Good memories, though. Terrifying memories. Same thing, really." In the distance, something exploded. Probably the greenhouse again. Someone would handle it. Or not. This was Haven. Things exploded sometimes. That was just life now. Vex pulled Riley closer, watching the stars that he'd once traveled as a weapon and now traveled as a person. "I love you, Riley Knox." "I know," she said, grinning. "You told me with your eyes. Very romantic. Also, I love you too. Even though you're terrible at cooking and you brood too much and you keep trying to organize my chaos, which is rude. Your chaos needed organizing. My chaos was perfect. Your chaos almost killed us 17 times. But it didn't. We're alive. We're married. We have a weird planet full of weird people and everything is weird and wonderful. Humanity? Heck yeah, am I right?" Vex laughed, the sound easy now, natural. Humanity? Heck yeah. Below them, Haven continued its chaotic existence. Above them, the universe sprawled infinite and full of possibilities. And between them, 2 beings who had found each other through the most unlikely circumstances held on tight and planned their next disaster. Somewhere in the galaxy, in a maximum security prison, Queen Valara received a wedding photo in the mail, Riley and Vex covered in cake, laughing in the rain, surrounded by reformed killers and chaos and joy. The Queen crumpled it up, furious. Then, after a moment, she smoothed it out again and looked at it longer. She'd never seen Vex smile before. Humanity was terrifying. But maybe, just maybe in the right circumstances, they were also contagious.